into the Three Technique, the live show here for week 5. And oh my goodness, the legendary slate did not disappoint. Garrett, we have a full slate to react to tonight. We've got some special guests that we're going to be bringing on the show. I'm excited to get into this. It was a slate that felt like going in, it was almost too perfect. We had too many great matchups. Maybe it was going to be disappointing. Maybe we were going to get chalk all the way through the evening. That is not what happened. We got treated to multiple classics, overtime games left and right. It's been a tremendous night.
We didn't even get a break last night. I mean, last night was crazy, and then rolled straight into today. This is one of those Saturdays you live for, right? We do the podcast all year. We get excited about it, talk about how good the sport is, and then we get a day like today. We get a day like the Saturday we got today, and it's so sweet. It is just exactly what we needed. The matchups were fantastic. Storylines abound. And there's going to be plenty to talk about. So it should be a fun live show. We had a lot of overtime going this weekend, maybe going overtime on the podcast as well. We're going to try to keep it to a 4-quarter regulation, but I don't know if we can squeeze it in.
That's right. We're going to do our best. Long run sheet, as I mentioned, a couple of guests that we're going to get to. But first, I want to let you guys know as the chat fills up that our episode tonight, every episode this season, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Right now, guys, you can play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds for a limited time when you use our code 3TechPod. New customers who use our link also get 3 gimme picks to use. So whether you're talking NFL football tomorrow, MLB playoffs are coming up, you can bet on the continued downfall of the U.S. in the Ryder Cup if you'd like, but lots of reasons to sign up over at Underdog Fantasy. Play along with us. Trey had some winners this week. I had winners last week, so you might be leaving some money on the table if you're not already playing Underdog Fantasy with us. Again, shout out to them. Code 3TechPod. Play $5. Get $100 in bonus funds just for signing up. With the bills paid, Garrett, I'll let you bring our guests in as I introduce them. Some of you have probably had the extreme pleasure of watching the Play the Fight Song pod along with us. And tonight we're going to be bringing in JP and Parks from Play the Fight Song pod, a couple of Midwest guys that I think are going to have some games to react to here this evening, and really looking forward to adding them as soon as
we are doing this live. I didn't sign in on the admin side, so that's
all
why
right.
I don't have
access. I've got them. JP
my fault.
Parks,
sorry guys.
Welcome in. A little bit of a delayed introduction, but JP, Parks, guys, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. Absolutely pumped to do it. Appreciate you guys having us on. Parks had it easy this week, though. He just got to watch and enjoy. He didn't have to go through a stressful game. He had his last week. But I don't know, Parks, I don't know how you're feeling, but what a Saturday. What a Saturday.
Feeling good. Thanks for having us, first of all, but I'm excited to hear a JP reaction. We don't usually get a typical late night after an Iowa loss JP full version. This is way past JP's bedtime, to be honest with you. So I'm excited to see what we get out of the young bald man tonight.
Oh, gosh. Thought Iowa was going to pull it off over Indiana. I did triple play Indiana in my pick'em league. Of course, that came back to bite me in a close one. We'll talk about that one when we get to the Big Ten. Guys, over here on our show, we do the Big Three when we do our previews. And typically, if those games all deliver, that's the order in which we start our recap show. And boy, we got 3 bangers when you talk about Whiteout and Happy Valley, when you talk about Alabama and Georgia between the hedges, and LSU and Ole Miss, honestly setting up both of these classics here tonight. Let's start, though, with our biggest storyline of the day. And when you have a slate that's as loaded as this, it's hard to keep up with it all, right? You've got a quad box going, you've got your cell phone, your laptop, whatever, just trying to keep up with the storylines. But JP, I'll start with you. Biggest storyline of the day in kind of a sentence or two, what would you boil it down to?
Young quarterbacks and inexperienced quarterbacks becoming gritty dudes. I mean, there was an abundance of guys who just showed up and decided to play good football today and really bring their teams either from behind or really will themselves to a win. So I think that's a massive storyline. You could write a list as long as, the sign of the Declaration of Independence type stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, Parks, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it felt like we always have these teams in college football that it's a little early, but we're kind of getting into that time frame where these teams have let us down, especially in recency. And those teams for me, LSU, all the offseason hype, the Brian Kelly acquisition, they dropped one today. Penn State, we've seen a James Franklin game where they've fallen where they shouldn't have. This is the national title contender, the third-year quarterback, and then Oregon's got a sophomore starting. They fall. Or how about USC? All that money out in Southern Cal. Lincoln Riley, did he finally put it together? It feels like Maya's the guy. They fall to Illinois late in that game. So it feels like these letdown teams and these letdown games are setting into college football, which always creates the story for us to talk about.
Yeah, I think going along with that, the storyline that I kept coming back to was the teams that sign up for 60 are just so underrated, right? I mean, time and time again this afternoon and this evening, you got to watch teams like Penn State, like Georgia, like Tennessee, Illinois, Texas A&M, all get punched in the mouth and find a way to battle back. Right now, Penn State and Georgia obviously come out on the losing end. We're about to talk about both of those. But for Penn State to get it to overtime, for Georgia to have a chance to tie this up and Kirby Smart not take the points. Like, we were there. Both of those teams were in position. Texas A&M and Tennessee get gritty wins on the road or in College Station in the Aggies case. But I think with all of this parity, all the roster turnover, it feels like those teams that can just decide pregame, we're here for 60 minutes. No matter what happens the first quarter, the first half, the first 3 quarters, we're going to be in this ball game. I just think that's such an underrated skill that is, maybe going to define a champion. I don't think anybody is just going to cruise to a national championship this year. Trey's on record saying nobody goes undefeated this season. The quality of games that we're getting, boy, it seems like that is absolutely on the table. So with that being said, the table's set, the storyline's in the barn. I think we got to go to Whiteout, right? Happy Valley, Oregon wins in double overtime, 30-24 over the Penn State Nittany Lions. Parks, kick us off here. This one was 3-3 at the half. Oregon pulls away early in the second half. Dan Lanning does the "it's over" sign. And then Drew Aller, I thought, was having a legacy moment where he kind of rose to the occasion and proved all of his haters wrong.
Yeah, first half, I felt good. One of our other co-hosts, Jake, is a certified Drew Aller hater. I mean, certified, as can be. Has been on it since the beginning of last season. I felt like he was going to come in and finally be like, yeah, I told you guys. That was his I told you moment. But we saw him pick it up. That fourth quarter, super important for Penn State. And I'm a fan of a program that, especially in recency, has taken a lot of moral victories. If you're a Penn State fan, you're probably not feeling great at the moment, but tomorrow morning you're going to try and find some moral victory in that fourth quarter. And even early in overtime, you probably feel okay about what you did. But what a play by the Purdue transfer, Dylan Thieneman, one of the better players within the Big Ten. Thank God they got him out of West Lafayette. But just this gritty win out of Oregon. Like, is there any question around what a Dan Lanning group can do and what his culture is around that program? Like, were they going to be the team phased by 100,000 screaming their lungs out? Probably not. So what a big time win, but I don't think it's like end all be all for Penn State. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a rematch of this game come the end of the season, but Ohio State's a different conversation for later.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. You wouldn't be surprised if Penn State climbed the mountain again, ended up in Indianapolis, ended up in a rematch with Oregon. What did you see from Penn State that kind of gives you that hope? Like, I could see on one hand saying, nope, there's a lot of positives and a lot of things to take away. On the other hand, there are going to be those folks in message boards and on Twitter that say, okay, they got lucky. They found some lightning in a bottle for a quarter and a half. But does this team actually have the offense to keep up with championship contenders?
It feels like whenever I'm going against anybody on a message board, I feel good about my odds to start things off. But I also think that it's a talented team across the board, and experience speaks volumes late in the season. And they have it, and a lot of teams don't. Especially when it comes to those early mid-November games. Like, that's when it comes to those nitty-gritty times, and we watch teams drop. And they have those hangover games, which we saw a little bit this week. And I don't think Penn State's going to experience that. And I think the schedule benefits them a little bit, right? So I think that there will be enough mix-up within the Big Ten, because you said earlier, how open college football feels this year. That plays right into getting a rematch of a game like this, which I don't think anybody would hate, because it was two teams just hard-nosed battling out for 60 minutes. And it could have gone one way. Like, when it went 17-3, that offense could have just completely died, and they picked themselves back up off the mat. And I think that's what the experience speaks to. So I feel like Penn State can do that across the season.
Gosh, I feel like most Penn State fans are probably going, really? Like, as soon as we get a deficit, they start chanting "Fire James Franklin," and
Mm,
then the offense figures it out. Like,
classic.
then Kotelnicki figures it out. JP, what about you? Like, what? It feels like there's so many different directions you could go with this
Yeah.
game. Are you taking more away from Penn State? Are you more on the Oregon hype train? Where do you find yourself after a classic double overtime thriller?
I'm worried a little bit about what Penn State is. You can't get bullied along the offensive front with two really good running backs and an offensive line supposed to be top tier in the Big Ten and average less than 4 yards a carry for majority of that game.
Yeah.
Um, it it was rough. It was really rough for a long time, and they couldn't even get Aller clean to make plays down the field. Like it was consistently blanket coverage and really good run defense from Oregon. So, like, I knew that Oregon defense was good, and we've kind of seen them do this before. But the difference was with this is that there wasn't just gashing running lanes getting Oregon this time around. Like they were very good on the defensive front, very good in the secondary. I don't know how you look at Moore right now and not call him top 2, 3 quarterback in the Big Ten. If not, his performance is all world, what he did tonight. So I take more from Oregon and their national title contention than I do anything else. I just worry about Penn State in the long run. Like you have to go to Ohio State. Nothing about that game tells me you're going to run for more than 100 yards total as a team. Nothing about that tells me you're going to beat that, Ohio State secondary who showed up again tonight in Seattle. I just don't see where that correlates to like this is going to get better and better and better.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like we've given Penn State every opportunity to give us a proof of concept, right? Like Andy Kotelnicki was electric at Kansas, and at times he's shown that. And Garrett, what did I call for during our preview show? I asked for Kotelnicki to open up the bag, right? And I mean, they did find ways to get Devontae Ross involved. And at the end, JP's right. Like they did find some of those running lanes when they absolutely had them. So the box score looks fine. But for the majority of that game, it was the struggle bus, and Drew Aller was the conductor. But on the other hand, your victory moment here, as bad as the offense was for Oregon in that first half, Dante Moore figured it out in the second half. And I do think that when you talk about adjustments being made and winning championships at the halftime intermission, Dan Lanning seems like he is not only kind of reaffirming everything that we know about him from his Oregon teams of the past, but it seems like he's getting better and better in these bigger moments as well.
It's honestly crazy impressive, and it's funny to think that we've come a long way, from Oregon being the team that got stomped against Georgia in that big first game with Bo Nix just looking like he didn't belong on a football field at the D1 level, and now we're sitting here and we're saying, hey, look, you can actually win these big time games, and they've actually kind of proven themselves a force in Dan Lanning's tenure. Look, I'm crazy impressed. There's a reason why back when we were doing previews, I wasn't very quick to judge the Ducks. I know there were a lot of things that people were saying, well, the quarterback, that quarterback just outplayed an experienced veteran in his own stadium with his team on their whiteout game. Like he just outplayed him. And there's nothing you can really say.
Him.
Yeah, it wasn't close. Like if you just blind ranked him, you didn't know anything about this game. I was sitting down, I was on the back patio with a couple people, and one of the guys, not really a ball knower, just kind of there for the vibes. He's like, "Oh wow, that kid for Oregon, he's pretty good." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's the kind of like his first real action in this game." So it was exciting to say the least. I'm really excited to see what this team can do and accomplish. But the real difference is just the fact that like they were able to push the ball a little bit, and yeah, they didn't convert in the first half, and like they still almost had 200 yards of offense in the first half. So they were finding chunk plays at times, and kind of getting moments where you could see it about to break through, and then eventually it finally did, and it started to pop. And so the difference here is just the fact that Drew Aller, not a difference maker. I'm sorry, like I've said it, I've been on that guy. I'm not maybe the Aller hater necessarily. I won't necessarily say that, but I'll put myself in the doubt category and say, hey, until he can show me that he can consistently win down the field and not just find like one or two a game where, okay, like that was a nice throw, okay, show me again. That's why does the run game fail? If you can put guys close to the line of scrimmage on defense, the run game's going to fail. I don't care how good your backs are. It's just not a situation you can win in as an offense. And so, look, am I going to say that Aller like absolutely can't do it? No, I just haven't seen him do it. And that's the big step that Penn State needs to make if they're going to compete, right? That's where Oregon is versus where Penn State isn't, is when I needed Dante Moore to make a play tonight, I got it a bunch of times. And, Yes, Aller brought him back into it, but like I said before, like Drew Aller, choke job to finish the game, and I just kind of like, yeah, of course it was going to be him to mess it up because at the end of the day, he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that it factor. He doesn't have the X factor that wins you games. He ain't got that dog in him. Whatever it is, it's just not Aller, right? So I'm not trying to dog on him too much, but that was the difference in the game tonight is you have one quarterback in Dante Moore who's seeing his first season of real action where he's, put in a position to win with a good program, and the guys around him elevate him and make him better. Meanwhile, you got a quarterback who's got experience on the other side for Penn State who is not making the team around him better. He is not elevating anybody's play.
What's the difference between Drew Aller, Sean Clifford, Trace McSorley? Like, you go back to McGloin.
Date of
is there
birth.
a real difference? Like,
it's date of birth, and that's about it.
Yeah. I'd almost take Trace McSorley and his playmaking ability at this point over.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute. I was a big Trace McSorley fan.
People didn't like him. They got sick of him at Penn State. They were kind of like, here we go again. Like, we don't have the big play guy, and this was supposed to be the answer. And we're on year 3 of just getting told we were wrong, basically.
Well, and I didn't get a final line on Prebula tonight, but I'd be curious to see how many Penn State fans are screaming on the message boards about letting the wrong quarterback go.
Well, that's part of like what's confounding, guys, is like Kotelnicki put up massive numbers at Kansas, right? And suddenly he comes to Penn State and it's like he conforms to the anemic passing offense that has plagued Happy Valley for a long time. The final stats on Aller, 14 of 25 for $137, 2 touchdowns.
Now,
obviously, that interception that ended it.
That might have been a Freudian slip there. He had 45 yards passing in the first half.
Yeah, it was not good. 69 total yards of offense. That was it in the first half. Those vaunted wide receivers, guys, that they paid through the nose to get. Devontae Ross, 448, 2 touchdowns. He was the highlight. Trevor Pena, 2 catches, 16 yards.
I don't think Kyron Hudson had a reception.
He did not. He did not.
That's a lot of money.
And Kyron Hudson was arguably the best of those 3 coming over from USC, right? I mean, I don't know what it is. But going back to concerns versus hope and optimism, I gotta see a proof of concept. Aller can put up decent numbers, not that he has in these first few cupcake games, but he could go out and put up decent numbers against a bottom of the barrel Big Ten team. At this point, though, I can't buy in. It was why I picked Oregon. I cannot believe in them to win a game in a big spot just because I don't think it's necessarily all his fault, but I don't get it. The formula does not work in the passing game for Penn State. Do want to shout out my guy, DeCorian Moore over at Oregon. 7 catches, 89 yards. The true freshman out of Duncanville, Texas. He continues to amaze. That catch that he made with a defender draped all over him, his hand basically like in between his hand and the ball at one point down the sideline. The broadcast couldn't help but say this guy's different. He reminds us of a guy in Columbus and what he did a season prior. He was electric tonight for Oregon.
He's insane, and I've been bringing it up and trying to say, hey, this Oregon team has a stud. Can they find that second guy? They had 8 guys catch a pass tonight. Like, that's pretty incredible. They're able to spread it around. A couple guys, Gary Bryant Jr., he stepped up. There was some big time plays from some big time guys tonight. But yeah, DeCorian Moore, when he's able to shine and you're able to, let him be the alpha in that room, he's going to eat. And I'm thrilled for this Oregon team because, again, like I was kind of saying, they took some heat over the offseason, and they definitely took some, hey, I don't know if this team is quite as good. And I know some people are still high on them, and I think some of the national guys kind of just auto-wrote them in because they thought, sure, I guess Oregon will still probably be good. But from a lot of the conversation, there was a lot of people saying, hey, I don't think Oregon's going to be that good this year. I think they take the big step back. Good for them. I'm glad that we can kind of put this to rest. Dante Moore is playing at a very high level. I'm glad that he can put any of the haters to rest and just kind of let them, shut them out for a second. I'm thrilled for this team. Just absolutely thrilled for this team.
Big win in a big spot. Dan Lanning gets his first overtime victory in his head coaching career. That's a nice little nugget as well. Guys, let's go between the hedges for game number 2. Alabama 24, Georgia 21. Parks, Georgia got caught chasing points late in that game, and it cost him. Kirby Smart, for all his accolades, for all his championships, now 1-7 against the Tide, and he's 0-2 against DeBoer. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
First off, it just feels like, I mean, when can we have the conversation that this is just Kirby Smart's number team, right? Like they've just got him.
Yeah.
I mean, how this is an Alabama team that 3 weeks ago we were talking about. I mean, throw them to the pasture. They lost to Florida State. This is just a bad team. They'll never be that saving team again. And then all of a sudden, here we are between the hedges. Georgia loses their first home game in however many years, and it's a Kalen DeBoer coach team. And they played exceptionally well. I think Ty Simpson's got to get the credit he deserves, right?
Yeah.
The Georgia defense, man, they had their opportunities to get off the field at some points, especially even late in that game, right? You burn all those timeouts. What a play call out of Alabama to the fake rollout pass right just for a gain of 7 to get down and end the game. So it's a lot. It kind of goes back to the Penn State Oregon narrative for me is I take more positive away from Alabama. Like I still think Georgia's going to be Georgia. That just might be Kirby's number team in my opinion. What a game though. No letdown out of the SEC this week, I would say. I think there was even some battles lower on the slate that panned out to be great. JP?
Yeah, absolutely. JP, I would love to know kind of what you thought about Ty Simpson, especially 24, 38,
Ty Simpson guy.
276, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think at one point they were 7 of 7 on third down, and just it was all levels of third down. It wasn't consistently 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. It was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. We're checking out of things and consistently making throws on the money on time. It was dissection. It was crazy. That was one of the big reasons I was on Alabama for this one. I was like, after what I saw Tennessee do and Joey Aguilar, I'm like, I thought Simpson played fine at Florida State. I think they kind of ran into a spot where they weren't as prepped as maybe they should be. They got some different things thrown at them. And then they kept him upright tonight. The Alabama offensive line showed up and did exactly what you asked them to do. And he sat there in the pocket and just made plays. He'd have more if we don't have another Ryan Williams drop, which is apparently an epidemic at this point in time. He's got 4 or 5 drops. Both, I guess, it kind of evens out, though. Georgia had one late, too, that probably just scratches each other out there. But just everything you want out of a kid to come in and after what you saw when you were running offense with Milroe, to bring him in and just see somebody play pro style football and deliver a football consistently on time to really good receivers. I mean, you got to be over the moon if you are in Tuscaloosa right now.
Yeah.
We might need a JP quote on a Caden Proctor catching a pass. I mean, this is a guy that
was
feels
sexy.
a little fire out of Iowa City.
We don't have any Caden Proctors in this city. Sorry about that. There's nobody by that name in this state.
No, you don't. Simpson is that guy. That's what I came away from this ball game thinking. It. You know, when we previewed this game, I laid out JP a lot of the similar sentiments where it felt like the Florida State game was a week 1 landmine. You were not ready. You got punched in the mouth. You didn't know how to respond. You're not as bad as your worst week. You're not as good as your best week, right? It felt like that might have been Alabama's worst week right out of the gate. And now they had to respond. And Ty Simpson came in at 89% completion against some cupcakes. I mean, whatever Wisconsin is, you can lump them in with that or not. But he was dealing. 89% completion does not just happen. And for him to be the perfect fit for this Ryan Grubb offense, to utilize those wide receivers that they have. Jeremy Bernard just continues to be automatic for the Tide. What a great addition that he's been from Washington as well. But I wondered the same thing. After what Tennessee put on tape, suddenly I started to think, oh, man, this Georgia's secondary might not be as good as what I thought they would be coming in. And more concerningly, guys, and I had to go check the box score just to make sure, Georgia is one of the worst teams in the country at getting the quarterback on the ground so far this year. And they only had 1 sack tonight. They had multiple opportunities. I felt like Alabama's offensive line in general played a lot better in this game, especially the tackles. But Georgia got to the pocket, blew the play up, and Ty Simpson, one of the areas that I needed to see improvement was when his spot gets taken over, how does he respond? He moved. He made the pocket mobile. He got out. He threw off platform. I was just really, really impressed with what Simpson put on the field tonight on the road in a loud environment, with kind of everything stacked against you, including some of those wide receiver drops. And ultimately, he leads his team to a gritty 24-21 win. On the flip side, though, we've got to talk about Kirby chasing the points. Like, Is there a way in your mind that you agreed with him in that spot, or were you screaming at your TV like I was?
I can't understand it whatsoever. I mean, why are you have an opportunity to tie it. It's been tough to move the ball. Your quarterback, Stockton finished with 130 pass yards. Like, he wasn't able to move the ball effectively through the game. You were running okay, so like maybe you think you can lean on that. But if I'm Kirby in the situation, I have to sit there and say, I don't know how many times we're going to be back down here. I got to find my way to tie it up because, and again, like they didn't have that opportunity. Like they didn't find their way back down there. So I don't understand the decision. Again, I'm disappointed in Georgia taking what I would assume is a step back. The defense looked better than what they did against Tennessee, but that offense, I mean, where was the offense we saw, chasing Tennessee down the field? I mean, is Tennessee's defense just that bad? Like, is that what we're saying is, maybe
That
Tennessee can't play
secondary is
defense? That
banged
might
up.
be what it is, right? Because when Stockton comes out here and he's not a difference maker anymore, that tells me, yeah, obviously Alabama stepped up to the test and they got better and they, after getting embarrassed week 1, decided to play physical again. Like, good for them, but at a certain point, you got to understand, you're the Georgia Bulldogs. You're supposed to do something, right? We're supposed to find our way back to physical football and not getting bullied around. So I just, man, I cannot understand why you're not taking points there.
I can see both sides. Live, I'm thinking, let's roll with the momentum. We got 14 and X amount of second or whatever. You have 14 and change left in the game. We're down here. We've had a long drive. Let's go get something. And then the problem was, I felt like, is once it didn't hit, it just felt like the air left the building. It's like kind of the gamble you play, right? You roll the dice, we can light this place on fire, or the air comes out of the building, and then Alabama goes long drive, makes you drive farther down. You get no points. You pump back to them, and they just eat 4 minutes of clock off. It's kind of the game you play. I watch so much Iowa football. I'm so used to conservativeness that it kind of feels odd to be like, it kind of feels odd to be like, huh, like going for it there's not a crazy thought, like, so
Yeah.
I can see both sides. I personally probably would have kicked it, but I don't think that is it's not end all be all for me. I can see both sides without being mad at either side for the opinion on it.
It just felt
I think
like,
partially.
well,
Go ahead.
it felt like if you're on the road, sure. I think I'm okay with it. But being at home, Parks, I just felt like, man, I know your defense hasn't been a national championship level defense tonight, but it's still been pretty good. You're at home, you've got the advantage. Tie it up and let your defense go make a play.
I think it speaks to the game, right? Like, know your opponent, know the
Yeah.
past, know the history, know what this team's done to you before. And maybe it's the Big Ten in us, JP, but I think any time you got points in you, to take the points, any chance, any opportunity you get inside there, and there's 3 points to be had, especially to tie the damn game, take it. And obviously, we saw the flip side of things where it can go south really quick. You end up getting beaten. JP already mentioned it, by 11 minutes in time of possession, and 6 of it came off that drive where you didn't take 3 points. So you kind of built your own grave, dug your own grave there if you're Kirby Smart.
Yeah. I do love having a couple of Big Ten guys on who just enjoy every point as a gift up in Big Ten
You gotta
land.
grind it out
Take
up
'em.
here.
That's right. Always a smart business decision to take those points. So looking forward for Alabama and Georgia, I want to scratch kind of the surface on what you think their ceiling is. Even though Georgia lost the game, guys, for me, one of the big things that I was curious to see how they would handle was their running game. And I do have a clip from our preview where I said I did not trust Georgia to get it done on the ground. Now, I was right in terms of the scoreboard, but when you open up the box score, 227 yards on the ground. Old Chauncey Bowens, 12 carries for $119 and a touchdown. He averaged just a smooth 9.9 a carry. So I think if there's one thing I'm taking away from this game from the Bulldogs, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to make the playoff. They're going to be right there. Plenty of SEC wins in store because when the quarterback and the passing game left a lot to be desired, which we have not seen that from Gunnar Stockton in a big time spot so far this year, right? The opening game, sure, whatever. But against Tennessee, he answered the dang bell. This was the first time that I've kind of questioned what he might be able to produce on a week in, week out basis. But I was happy to see the offensive line stepped up and that running game picked up the slack to have their most explosive game of the season.
I found it odd that they didn't run Stockton as much. I thought I was going to get a lot of
Mm.
him
Mm.
in designs. He had 5 rushes. He's only sacked once, so it isn't like he was running for his life the whole night. When we were previewing this game, I said, like, I feel like that was kind of a key in some spots. Like, if they can get him moving and use him in the run game, maybe they didn't feel like they needed to because they were able to get 5, 6, 7 sometimes, and then they had a couple big ones late in there. But I thought I was getting more of his run game because he is. I feel like if you make him sit in the pocket and beat you consistently, the Tennessee game feels like the outlier in his career, the short career to this point, right? He's not able to pick you apart consistently and just, move the ball down the field that way. But I don't think there's a true. I think their ceilings are both the same. Like going back to your original question, these are both national title contenders. Like these are both teams that could win a national title. Their floor probably high floors. Like you're looking at 9-3 as their floor probably, which depending on this year could be a playoff team. We don't know. It's a real possibility.
I think that the way you ended that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Like we talk about 2025 college football. Where are these teams going to end up? Who the hell knows? Like, does anybody have any idea where these teams are going? This is so week to week. Did anybody have on their bingo card Alabama going 13 for 19 on third downs tonight? No. Did anybody have Georgia going 2 for 8 at home? No. What's going on? This sport is as confusing as ever, which is beautiful. But who goddamn knows where these teams will end up in week 12, which is great. But like going back to the Stockton thing quickly, he did run into a gauntlet of a secondary. Like Alabama's still Alabama in some assets of their game, right? In some way, shape, or form, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they still have units that are of caliber as they were under that glory man, Nick Saban. But on the flip side, when are you going to run into that again if you're Gunnar Stockton at this secondary like that? Maybe mid-November when you play Texas? Probably outside of that, you got to see some deep development throughout the season to be ready for the rematch because it feels like I think JP's still right. Like these are still national title contenders, but who the hell knows?
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes to your point, Parks, earlier about the letdown spots settling in. Obviously, this was not a letdown spot for either team, but the fact that I think it's so wide open, you got to take it week to week because the second you pull a Florida State, which we'll talk about later on a Friday night, TCU got caught looking ahead too, maybe in a weird spot on the road. The moment that you get outside the box that you can control, the second that you can control, you could lose today, right? I mean, you're not going to have 3-4 teams going undefeated in all likelihood. It feels like the pool of teams that can make the playoff, even threaten, have a conversation about winning a national championship, I think is larger than ever, which is exciting. I think for college football, exciting for the sport with all the pros and cons that come with that. But guys, let's move to the third big time game that we previewed: Ole Miss LSU. We were on Ole Miss here. We thought this was a bad spot for the Fighting Tigers of Louisiana State, and sure enough, it proved to be just that. The Rebs 24 over the Tigers 19. What else can you say besides Ole Miss kind of stuffed LSU's offense in a locker? It's time to panic with the LSU offense, right? I mean, Nussmeier didn't look good. He might be hurt. Caden Durham did not get to play in this game. He's hurt. The running game was lethargic at best. They ran for 57 total yards. And I know that Trinidad Chambliss has a lot of experience at Ferris State. This was his first real big time moment, right? Coming in, everybody said, yeah, he's played well, but he hadn't seen a defense like LSU. Still got plenty of yards through the air, still found a way to move that offense for Ole Miss. And LSU guys, it just feels like they're searching for answers that aren't there.
Mm-hmm. Man, I battled for LSU this week. I took them again. I was like, you know what? It feels like one of those spots where they're going to get stuff figured out. I think Nuss does have something a little more than what's being led on. Like he doesn't look like he's the same gunslinger from years past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that Ole Miss team just has no business being that good of a defense on Saturdays. Like that Ole Miss team is a bad. I watched them play Arkansas, who's a pretty good offense. Like, right? And it looked like we were watching one of the worst tackling displays I'd seen in a long time between those two teams. I just think it's unacceptable to get beat along the offensive line. I know LSU has like their question marks along their offensive line, but to have zero run game, zero protection for a guy who's already banged up, and just no real sign of life. Like even when they were down a score, you're like, I'm not really sure if they got 65 yards in them, and they didn't. And then to go to the other side, like Chambliss, Lane Kiffin's going to give you open throws. Don't miss him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. Consistently on the money to guys who are that's a really good receiving core. Not a lot of people are given the flowers to. That run game's fun to watch. Lane Kiffin's a magician with a playbook, man. It's a scheme I'd love to have the all 22 and just sit as like a fly on the wall and listen to him explain to people, because it is so much fun. Maybe I still want to know more about Ole Miss. I want to know more about LSU. I feel like it answered a lot of questions, but if we're going to ask the same question we asked about Alabama and Georgia, what's the ceiling for these two teams? I'm puzzled. I'm still not sure.
I'm sure a majority of your guys' preview of this game was taken up by talking about LSU stagnancy just across the board on offense throughout the entire season. And here's, example 5. They're not fading away from having a stagnant offense and not being able to continuously put drives together. I think we had a different narrative, and college football's the king of overreaction, right? You win 17-10 against a Clemson team in week 1. You're like, all right, here we go. LSU's got a defense. They got a returning quarterback, which feels like a diamond in the rough in this year's college football game. But boy, oh boy, we're on week 5. This offense sucks. I mean, they just can't do it, man. They can't put it together. They're putting up 23 points against Louisiana Tech. Shout out to the Dogs. But unbelievable out of Lane Kiffin to just get enough to get done, because this was the week, I said it in previews, where even picking the games where it's like, I've signed these checks before and they've bounced. And that's James Franklin and that's Lane Kiffin in big games. Here we are signing these checks. Franklin's bounced. Kiffin finally gets one done for us. So shout out to Ole Miss. Take what you can get, but LSU's got a bad offensive problem, gents.
The offensive line struggling today was honestly a surprise to me, because I know they haven't been great, but I said in this game, I do expect the offensive line to have some success. Statistically, Ole Miss's defensive line had not done much. This is not a Walter Nolan-led defensive line, right? This is more speed than size and physicality. And yet it didn't matter, guys. I mean, these are all 5 stars from the boot, from Louisiana. These guys bleed purple and gold. And right now they're not working together. No part of this offense is streamlined, is efficient, feels like they've really rehearsed it all that often. It feels kind of like Penn State's did in that first half, where it's like, oh my gosh, I know there's a game plan somewhere in there, but I'm fooled. This could be a backyard football game for everything that I'm seeing on the field right now.
Well, Mitch, let me help you show your work on that real quick, because you're totally right. I pulled this up because I had the feeling that it would look pretty bad. We're going to take rushing totals against Ole Miss so far this season.
Oh boy.
Georgia State ran for 191. Kentucky ran for 172. Arkansas ran for 221. Tulane ran for 178. How many yards did the LSU Tigers run for? 57. Shame on you, LSU. What are you talking about? A contender, maybe not. No, I'm sorry. They're not a contender. Their offense sucks. Like, you're totally right when you have to say that. Their offense is trash. They can't score against La Tech. They can't figure it out. I'm sorry. You just have a bad offense. You are giving up far too much. I know their defense is apparently great, and that's why they gave up a whole bunch of yards to Ole Miss. And yeah, they gave up a whole bunch of yards to Florida, but they turned them over 5 times. So, like, congrats. I guess that's good. But they're getting into, SEC play, meat of their schedule. Ole Miss is not going to be the last team with a good offense they play. They're not going to be the last team with some playmakers who can make something happen. And if 20 is the number you need to beat them, then I think that they're going to lose a whole bunch of games this year. So, look, do I have an explanation for it? No. There's no reason why Garrett Nussmeier should be this bad at throwing the football at this point in his career. And there's no reason they should be this bad of a running-based team with the guys that they have on that offense. And there's no reason why they should have, with those receivers, nobody who can make that big of a difference. Like, there's just no excuse for it in my mind. So I don't know, like, is it just going to magically fix one week? Maybe, I guess. It's college football. Weirder things could happen. But at this point in the season, you got, 5 games under your belt. I don't think that there's any evidence this offense is going to look better.
I know football fans love Brian Kelly. I know football fans love Brian Kelly, right? Everybody loves him.
To a man.
It's just most liked coach in America. But does anybody want to let him know that when you go out and invest in a defense and it finally starts to work out, You might have to reinvest in some sort of your offense, buddy. It's not going to just keep putting itself together year over year, and you can
so
throw all the
much
money on the defensive
though.
side.
Like they spent so much, but they bought receivers that was great. Like they put money into it.
Where are they?
I don't know. I mean, you got Nick Anderson out here for 2 catches, 28 yards in this game. That's congratulations. How would you like to be catching passes from Mateer this year? Because that seems like a bad decision.
How about the
Yeah.
longest rush of the day being 10 yards?
I
I hope we got the sticks. Did he get a good spot? Unbelievable.
Was it 2nd and 12?
Harlem
good
Berry.
Lord.
Harlem Berry, is he a true freshman, redshirt freshman, fresh face, 7 carries for 22 yards. That's your leading rusher in purple and gold. We got called idiots 7 ways to Sunday, guys, in our comment section by LSU fans who were saying my favorite comment was, this offense doesn't need a get right week. What on earth are you talking about? Have you watched?
They come to Jesus, brother.
Have you watched any of the games so far?
To those LSU fans, I just say Giux away and also learn how to spell. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Very similar to Penn State. It's like, gosh, you've got all the talent in the world, and it's not just, I think Nuss is hurt. He's got kind of some arch to him where it just like he doesn't look normal.
Doesn't look right.
Like JP, like you said, he just doesn't look right throwing the football. But whether he is hurt or not, throwing into triple coverage, not a recipe for success. And he did that a couple times this afternoon. So, yeah, great defense. I love the job that Blake Baker's done. And it's going to be a shame if his improvement from what was a historically bad LSU defense goes by the wayside because Brian Kelly farts around and finds another way to go 8-4. That would be one of the worst storylines of college football to me.
They're going to put up a great bowl performance in the Artist, formerly known as the Outback Bowl or whatever it is. They're going to put up a great performance in that game as a defense because this team doesn't have what it takes to make it in the SEC. I'm sorry.
They go bye week, South Carolina at home, at Vandy, A&M at home, at Alabama. Like, I'm struggling to find one. Like South Carolina, maybe
one win.
They could beat South Carolina at Vanderbilt's tough because Vanderbilt can score. Texas A&M can score. Didn't do it today, but they can. Alabama can score. Arkansas can score. Oklahoma at the end of the year with Mateer, they can score. You may not have a bad point there. You might be onto something.
How about Vandy being undefeated? To your point, like
with Bama, we're going to Bama now.
Boy, they made
Bama
it interesting
I'm
today,
so
though.
excited.
Yeah, it was an interesting game against Utah State. The Aggies, not our Aggies, the other Aggies from out west, they were putting up some points in concerning
Broncos
fashion early on. They can. Really like the job that Mendenhall's doing out there. One other game before we'll kind of go rapid fire, and maybe you guys can just give me kind of your instant reaction here. Illinois beating the Trojans. We kind of referenced it off the top. Garrett and I took the Trojans minus the 7.5. Trey, who's not on the show tonight, doing a victory dance, certainly did it in our group chat. Illinois finds a way not only cover the spread, but win on a walk-off field goal. Guys, I mean, the only thing that I come back to is you cannot trust Lincoln Riley in a big spot. If it is not a perfect weather game in Los Angeles where all the variables are controlled, I don't trust him to get it done.
Perks, I think
sounds good
you
to
had
me.
him as dog's dog, didn't you? You had him outright. You had Illinois outright. I took
Absolutely.
USC on the
I don't know where Trey is, but he sounds like a ball knower wherever he may be. Bring him on. The guy knows ball.
Illinois tried to give it away. That was the
did.
problem, right?
They did.
Late, USC found a way to kind of pick on that hurt secondary that was kind of hobbling around. But Illinois consistently found ways to move the football on a USC defense that probably, for all like intents purposes, is not fixed. Like they are still struggling a little bit. I have what was Altmaier? 20 for 26 for 328, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
Probably had a decent amount on the ground as well. The guy is just good. They had to have something. And it felt like from the kick, whoever walked in there was in for a hell of a game. And it just happened to be USC today. I look at that one and I think both teams are pretty solid still to this point, but you know who USC is still. I don't think Illinois could win the Big Ten, but they could go 10-2. They drop one more and end up 10-2. Depending on what USC does, they become a legitimate, what is that, 9-10 seed possibility right now. So just instant reaction to them. Like Bielema had to have that one. You lose that one there, it gets tough. It was a big weekend in Champaign. I know a few people that were out there. And then if you're Lincoln Riley, you're probably just having to deal with the same backlash you've had since your years at Oklahoma, right? Like, thought we had the defense fixed. We've got more physical. We showed up like last year for the most part in some spots. Non-existent today in Champaign.
Yeah, one of the top pass rushes in the country, guys, coming in. That was one of the big reasons that I decided to lay the points against my gut instinct. But Illinois' offense had been worse than Swiss cheese. I mean, Altmaier was running for his life to start this season. You think of the Duke game, obviously the Indiana splattering. And USC came in with the third best pass rush statistically in the country. They got 1 sack today. To your point, it just doesn't show up right now in the big moments for Lincoln Riley. And I don't know why that is, but it seems to be a universal constant at this point.
Well, and Mitch, I wasn't totally sold on the entire, SC experiment, right? Like if you look at the past couple weeks, didn't exactly put Michigan State away.
Sure.
Kind of let Purdue hang around, mess around, make it sort of a game. Like they ultimately look like good final scores, but if you watch the game, it wasn't exactly, pretty and, just blowing straight past people. And so I wasn't necessarily a believer in SC, but like, man, after what we saw at Illinois, maybe we overreacted and just said, yeah, you got destroyed by Indiana. So, you're in a letdown spot, but man, like you got to give them some credit in the bounce back to wipe that one from their memory. And, I'd be shocked if they even showed tape, right? That's one of those that you don't even bring the tape up. You just say, let's, hit the practice fields Monday morning and not worry about what just happened. So their ability to have that short memory and come back and end up winning that one, that's a big deal for them. And you look at the schedule, it really shapes up nice. I know they got Ohio State, but after that, it's really manageable. Yeah, if you only drop one more, you guys are probably right. Like they're maybe looking at a playoff spot.
I have been personally victimized by an Indiana splattering. I'm a survivor, a victim, as they would say.
And
so it only felt right to reach out and grab my brothers in arms in Illinois. And if I'm going to trust anybody to schematically put something together up front to win a Big Ten football game, Brett Bielema would probably be top 3 on that list. Am I crazy? I mean, up front, their offensive line dominated, especially late in the game. I mean, when Illinois got the ball down 32-31, right? They had 5 minutes. There was no sign of USC stopping any bit of that running game. Like they could have just chose, hey, kicker, what yard line do you want it on? What side of the field do you want it on? Because we can do pretty much anything we want. So they bounce back. I think it's good for the country to, see that they're still the team that you at least had a conversation about in preview season, because I was high on Illinois. And so I said, I'm either going down with the ship this week or they're going to get it done and be the team. But that Indiana splattering, it probably is just going to come once a year. It might just be a national holiday now in college football.
Well, again, you're not as good as your best day. You're not as bad as your worst day. And I think Klatt called it out on the broadcast. He talked about how Illinois' offense got moving north-south, the offensive line. And as long as they were moving north-south, they were dominating USC in the trenches. The second they tried to kind of go east-west, okay, that's when maybe some of the athleticism from the Trojans, their linebacking core started to shine. But when it was just bully ball time, to your point, when it's just, all right, we got to get 5 yards here, just student body dead central. Illinois was moving the football, and that has been a problem that has plagued USC since they were relevant in the Pac-12 days, right? I mean, it's just not been a physical football team. Shout out to Danton Lynn for the improvements that he has gotten from that defense over the last couple of seasons, but obviously not good enough today, and especially when your quarterback's putting up 3 bills, almost 4 through the air. I mean, Maave had nearly a career day, I believe. Makai Lemon over 150 yards passing, and the fact that wasn't enough for an early kick, that's disappointing. Disappointment.
It's a really good receiving core, and I was on the train of saying, the Miller Moss thing, I feel like he didn't get a fair shake. Maiev has kind of showed up and just made that irrelevant at this point. So offense is good, some of the best weapons in the country, but what are you going to do if you can't stop anybody?
We're also working towards a Jaden Maava, like Johnny Manziel, Mike Evans, like throw it up. Who cares? Mike Evans is down there somewhere. Yeah. Makai Lemon is that dude. Yeah. Like there was a couple of points in that game where it was just like, hell with it. He's down there. He'll catch it. And he is good. But Big Ten football come November, USC could be for a rude awakening if it comes to throwing the football like that. Because I mean, they go play in Champaign mid-November.
Yeah.
Good luck throwing the ball like that.
Yeah, you start to introduce wind chill, and suddenly we gotta run it between the tackles just a little bit more. Let's leave Big Ten country. Let's come down to our neck of the woods and talk a couple SEC headlines. We can hit these very quickly. We've got Texas A&M eking out an ugly one over Auburn in College Station, 16-10. Tennessee survives Mississippi State, Stark Vegas on the road, 41-34. And I ask you, gentlemen, is Sam Pittman still employed tomorrow morning after the 56-13 barbecue that Notre Dame had at the expense of the Hogs? JP, kick us off. What of those three headlines kind of catches your attention?
Yeah, I didn't get a ton of eyes on Tennessee, Miss State. I'll probably have to watch that one tomorrow. I had the over in Arkansas Notre Dame, and it looked like Freeman was just trying to keep his buddy alive for a while. Is what it felt like. It's like, just put him out of his misery, just score. Probably not. It came out last week, I think, that there were reports that the boosters had basically gone public and saying money's no longer an object for how we want to move forward. And I don't think his buyout's massive, but it's big enough for them to not do it last year.
Yeah.
And so you're probably looking at it, depending on what time in the morning it is, they'll probably let him have breakfast. So if it's like 10:30, you're probably good. But I'm not going to assume he's coaching. Yeah, he's coaching Monday. And so Taylor Green in that offense, I thought we were going to be able to score in Notre Dame. That didn't happen at all. The A&M Auburn one, it felt like A&M had every opportunity to get out and just run away with it.
We did.
I don't know if you guys, felt the same way watching it.
Have you watched the Aggies before? That's very much what we do. That's our signal.
It felt like they were like consistently moving the football, playing good defensively, and then it was just, wait, we're not above the sticks anymore. Somehow we're backwards. Why do they still have the football? Auburn consistently is getting first downs out of nowhere. It was a weird one. Like, you have that in the notes here, and I think you probably speak to it better than I did, but I couldn't get a rhythm out of it. Like, I couldn't get a real feel watching that game live. It's one of those you have to look back and kind of read the box at the same time and try to figure out and make sense of it.
Mm-hmm. I think for Texas A&M, over 400 yards, dominated the time of possession, got whatever they wanted defensively. Auburn was talking a big game about their number one rush defense and, 2 yards a carry, and A&M got 207 yards on the ground, multiple running backs, big holes, creasing them. What held Texas A&M back from winning this game by 24 was the penalties. They had 13 penalties for almost 140 yards. And guys, we're not just talking procedural penalties. We're talking unsportsmanlike conduct for saying something to an official after a big time first down because we're still dwelling on a holding call from 2 plays previous. Like, that certainly is something that concerns me, because as good as the offense was at moving the football, as elite as the defense was today, 7 sacks for the Aggies against just a horrendous offensive line for Auburn and a bad quarterback in Jackson Arnold. You do have to be concerned, I think, a little bit about eventually those type of penalties cost you a game. 2 years ago under Jimbo Fisher, those penalties sink your ship. A&M loses this game at home to Auburn 17-16, something terrible that rips our hearts out in the last second. I do think that Elko's ability to continue to win these games when the game script is out the window. Colin Klein has thrown a pass on 3rd and 1 when you've run for 200 yards and you just need to move the chains. Like, that stuff should not happen, but when it does, his ability to rally the troops, get everybody to get their head back in the game and go make a play and win the ball game, that's something that Texas A&M has not had in a long time. And so I would love to stop seeing the proof of concept there. I would just love to win comfortably. But that, I think, ultimately is my hopeful takeaway, that you clean up some of the stupid stuff, stop grabbing onto a jersey away from the play and getting a holding call, and maybe this team has a chance to do something special.
Well, and Mitch, there's a lot of that that's definitely true. There's some of it that, though, I look at this and I say A&M, it was all about them today. Nothing that Auburn was doing was really impacting the game. They couldn't do anything on offense. To pull a couple of those defensive numbers, they only had 177 yards in this game, only 52 rushing. I think their long rush was like 9 yards. So for all the conversations about A&M not having a defense and giving up the big plays, it didn't happen today. Cam Coleman, I think, had like 18 yards on 2 catches. Like he was a non-factor. So you look at this entire game and you say, well, like, what happened? They missed 2 field goals and decided to throw the ball on 3rd and 1 late. Otherwise, this game is 26-3 in the final, moments of that fourth quarter, right? Instead, you miss your 2 field goals, you don't hit those, and then deciding to throw a screen where the snap goes high and the pass goes high and it gets dropped because it's high, but you probably should catch that if you're a D1 receiver, and then it gets tipped to the perfect spot where the guy's just waiting there for it. Look, at the end of the day, it's messy. It was a messy win. There were definitely mistakes. There were constant moments where A&M was shooting themselves in the foot, but you found a way to win. Mitch, we said it last week. It's gritty, not pretty, right? It's just finding a way to just grit your way through a win when you really probably didn't play all that good. And now you find yourself sitting here, 4-0 for the first time since 2016. There's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of things that you should be happy about if you're an Aggie fan, because you're looking at yourself saying, hey, if Marcel Reed connects on a couple of deeper passes, if we can just block it a little bit better, if we can just not hold people, which apparently SEC refs got coached on how to call holding, so that's nice. It's the first time they've done that in a couple of decades, I think, but not entirely sure. No, I'm excited for where the team's going. I think that they can play a lot better than this. And Mitch, my moniker on here for this is you get one. If you're a championship contender and you think that you can be that team, you get one game where you can just not entirely look like yourself and kind of play around, and you're okay. So I give you one where you can show up and not be yourself. Well, that's your one if you're A&M. Don't go do this again, or else you could start to talk yourself out of that sort of contention. For now, 4-0, you got a signature win. You're a top 10 team. Keep pushing. Don't keep messing around like this next week with Mississippi State and Florida, or else we're going to start taking you out of that conversation.
Parks, I'll let you take us over to Big Ten country. I had 2 other games that we haven't discussed already on my run sheet here. Ohio State 24, Washington 6. I wrote that this was one of the more impressive wins around the national slate, mostly because I thought this was a trap game for Ohio State. Not that they weren't going to be taking Washington seriously, but I feel like nobody really knew what Washington was. They hadn't really been playing any big games. They'd been up in the sleepy Pacific Northwest, a lot of late kicks, tough place to play. You knew that the folks in Seattle were going to be juiced up for this one. And it felt like Ohio State answered the bell just about at every turn. The offense, maybe a little bit higher production was, an ideal outcome, but you cover the spread, win by double digits, and, never really felt like Washington was totally in that game, certainly not in the second half.
I feel like for the Washington side of things, not only for just their fans in Seattle, but college football fans, right? You kind of looked up the score. You even just take a look at the Apple Cup, right? Oh, put up 59 points, drubbed a bad Washington State team. This team's got a lot of talent. Jonah Coleman gets the flowers he deserves very often. But how about Matt Patricia, right? This is a defense that we kind of were like, all right, what are they going to do? No more Jack Sawyer. Jim Knowles goes in conference. Like, is this team going to take a massive step back defensively? Nope. They're sure not. I mean, they were dominant today. They limited the run really well. They're always going to defend the pass with the secondary that they have. Caleb Downs still there, people who still exist. He's still a college football player, and he's still really damn good. So I don't want it to overreact, but to me, this felt like the most impressive win out of anybody all season, and I think you nailed it. So Ohio State, big time win up north, and honestly, took the back seat to what we got on the night slate. So
yeah, it was kind of unfortunate that it got shoved into the afternoon window. JP, I saw you were about to say something as well.
Yeah, this is a better defensive front than what Washington had last year. Last year, that team came into Iowa City last year and just got dog walked in the run game. They're a little better this year, but Ohio State along the front kind of told them where they should be and blocked them basically to precision in a lot of spots. And Julian saying just took what was given consistently, get the ball to my playmakers. Let me just manage this thing from.
That's all you need to do.
That he did it perfectly. I think he had 2 incompletions. Is that what I saw in the box score? Or 6, so close to 2, but not really. 22 of 28.
Math's hard.
Still really good. They ran for 150. The Bo Jackson 17 of 80. Like, I think they're 4-4 a carry. Like you said, it never really felt in doubt. They kind of just controlled and handled how that game was going to be played the entire time. Damon Williams is a really good quarterback, but you can't expect him without like really good receivers out there to have a really good day. I think he did everything he could to keep them in that, right? Like that's what's going to happen in that situation against that team. They got their stops early, got a turnover on downs, went down the field, had a chance to score, didn't work out for them. Once Ohio State got a lead, they just kind of played boa constrictor and slowed things down and just were like, let's just make this easier on ourselves and control a football game rather than trying to continue a pace and get big play after big play.
Yeah, they took away Denzel Boston, Ohio State did, and felt like Washington was kind of searching for an offensive identity outside of him, certainly in the passing game. Coleman gets 70 yards. Felt like he's always going to be very consistent on the ground, but, to your point, Ohio State did everything to limit explosive plays, kind of let Washington get what they allowed them to get and kind of nothing more in a very impressive win. You can JP, you can take the Iowa game here if you would like. Indiana 20, Iowa 15 ends on a Fernando Mendoza sprint backwards into the end zone to run out the clock. Apologies if you lost your bet on that one. I had already lost.
Play.
Yeah, I took Indiana at 7.5. I thought we were going to get more offense than we did out of them today. But it's just kind of the same song, different verse, right? For Iowa, great defense, offense, just kind of there.
They played well. Like, to be honest with you, I want the all 22 film, and I want to see what Phil Parker did to this Indiana team to just tell them they did whatever Phil wanted them to do. They're
Engage
only
8.
Outside of the last play where they scored late. It was an Iowa turnover on short field. They scored in 2 plays, and then it was just whatever Iowa wanted to do, they got to do defensively. Then on the flip side, Gronowski was really good. We converted consistently on third and short, third and medium, making plays that way. The run game started to work late. And then you just couldn't turn it over, right? Like there was no real point where you're like, okay, the offense is going to take this all 65 and score. It'd get close. Ferentz would opt to punt, pin them deep. We'd miss a kick or two. That hurts a lot after a turnover where you get into Mendoza's face. And he did not look that comfortable in the pocket in the second half. He looked lost. And it hit him. You got him off kilter. Get the pick. We're returning it downfield. Gronowski gets hurt. You're kind of in a spot like, okay, we'll be at the 2-minute warning, kick the field goal. We have an All-American kicker who is having a rough year, apparently. And it went away quick. I don't hate the Phil Parker call late. We were doing it the whole day. It's the same kid that's been picked on since day one in Deshaun Lee. And they said, my best on your worst corner, one-on-one on the edge. I'm going to take that every time. And if you choose to let him have inside across your face, make the tackle. And he did. It's basically what it came down to. I had Indiana winning by 3 scores in this when I was breaking it down. And so I think you take the loss. It sucks because the way it happened. But this is still an Iowa team that's going to make it hell on people, and they can still show up and make plays. I don't think it's something to bat your eye at. And if you're Indiana, I think you're just happy to get out of there with a win because they didn't look good on, their defensive front was solid, but as the game progressed, they were on the field for so long, Iowa started running the football on them. So get out of Kinnick with a win is how you feel happy. If you're Iowa, you take it with a grain of salt and say, that's about as well as you could play without winning the football game in some spots. It made them play Iowa football. That's huge.
Saying you put pressure on Mendoza is a very nice way to put it. He looked like a mug victim after the game. It was unbelievable how bad they got after him in the second half, especially even on the touchdown late in the game. Like Elijah Surratt's like a stud, right? Like we can all admit that at this point. He's been that way for the last 2 years and even before that. But he's just a hell of a player. But the way they got after him, it was full engage 8. Like they sent everybody. And it was a half a second difference on a couple of throws that Mendoza made. But you could see him after they scored, right? Look to the sky. It was a literal thank you to the Lord that they got out of there alive. And it's a credit to Phil Parker. I don't think it should be shocking news that he can dial up something here and there and get stops. But Hank Brown, just come on. Needed a couple more throws there, buddy.
Do we know anything about Gronowski's leg injury?
So
he said he was
tomorrow
struggling to stop.
Yeah, so it's a deceleration thing. He can get up and go and make the cut, but when he has to kind of, slow things down or whatnot, that's the issue. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not an athletic trainer. a certain ligament or muscle group that has something to do with
Tape
that.
it up.
Long
Long
But they were
season.
trying to get him back in, and it just sounded like it wasn't the right move. And I don't even blame Hank Brown for the way, like, by the time he was
No.
in there, they were teeing off. They're like, we're coming after the quarterback nonstop. The ball that got tipped, there's a guy in his face. It's a foot off. I mean, he doesn't have a guy in his face. That ball's on the money. You're moving the sticks and you're still begging for 35 yards, but it is what it is. And then tough one.
Yeah. It's all right. We'll continue to root for the Hawks over here as well. I've got extended family. My in-laws are Hawkeyes fans. I know they were there at Kinnick today, so I'm sympathetic to the Hawkeye cause for sure. Guys, I
love the shaking of the head down here. I wanted to let that
me
go
too.
noticed.
Me too. I'm a sympathetic guy
what are
too.
you talking about? We ain't gonna continue to root for. I love that. That's
Sympathetic
funny.
guy.
We'll see you. We'll see you in the final week of the season for the Heroes game. In our notes, guys, I wrote that the ACC theme of the week, I think, is clarity. I think we maybe got to understand who's going to fill out this upper echelon of the ACC and maybe who we might start to write off. Tell you what, team that we're not writing off is Virginia. They upset Florida State in 2 overtimes. We don't have to break that one down. It was a fantastic game. The one question that I do want to know, though, was the Deuce Robinson ball a catch in the back of the end zone?
Nope.
No.
My God, but you got to catch that football. I mean,
but you got to catch that. Oh,
the way my hands went up on my head to just oh my gosh, you cannot blow this. Like, how are you actually? Yeah, no, it was shocking. One thing that was caught was that receiver in the corner on that last play caught several feet as he got trampled on. Probably the greatest field rush I've seen. I'm trying to rack my brain to think if there's a better one just in terms of speed, and it was incredible.
I put it out on our Twitter account. I needed proof of life to see that Squirrel was indeed okay because he just disappeared into a herd of
Squirrel
people.
getting run over is not an uncommon thing. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out Chandler Morris though. North Texas transfer Chandler Morris.
Parks wants to give us North
Texas. Give the man his flowers.
That's right. That's 5-0.
It's the North
Texas.
Yeah, it's the quarterback factory over there. They're just
right.
It's turn and burn, baby. Chandler Morris stud.
Eric Morris knows what he's doing. I gave out UNT -12 in the hook as a lock this week.
Yeah, that was my best bet as well.
Did not cover comfortably. We
no such thing. It's just no sweat.
We were watching that box score late for sure. But yeah, that was the full Chandler Morris experience. I put that out for the uninitiated. The picks into double and triple coverage. It felt like you just kind of closed your eyes and threw it. Yeah, that's all par for the course. But he got the
territory.
Win. It does. It absolutely does. Louisville, massive comeback over Pitt. I saw that they posted the ball boy flexing on everybody after that clip went viral. Good for Louisville. It felt like Miller Moss kind of took them out of that early with some bad throws. I didn't know on the road if the Cardinals were going to have the horses to come back. But guys, I don't think Pitt's actually that good. And it pains me.
I don't think Pitt's great either. Miller Moss, I did feel like when they got down 17, I texted in our group chat and I was like, oh my God, here we go again, right? This is just Louisville experience. This is Jeff Brom, Louisville. And one of our co-hosts, Jake, goes, buddy, calm down. We're 10 minutes into this game. And so they started moving the football again, but Isaac Brown, Duke Watson, no run game for Louisville made that completely different. You're used to them having a real shot and supplementing whatever Miller Moss has to do, and they didn't run the ball worth anything. And so you got to do what you got to do in those situations. Sometimes you got to get it out of there with a win. I still think they're one of the better ACC teams. Mm-hmm. Pitt's got to figure something out. I understand.
Confounding.
Letting Holstein kind of sling a little bit. And that's what's worked when Pitt was good. They played a little more offense, but I don't know. There's something off there still. Something needs to turn on.
Georgia Tech barely survives Wake. That was a 20-3 game for Jake Dickert and the Deeks. It felt like I had a graphic ready, an upset graphic. We were ready to roll, celebrate with Trey is on Wake Forest to a bowl game, which that is looking more and more possible. In the preview season, I didn't know how you got all of those ingredients and said, sure, we're heading to the postseason. But Trey saw the vision for sure, and they looked like a really solid football team for about 3 quarters, and then Georgia Tech stormed back. I'm all in still on the rec, finding a way to the playoff. Good teams come back in those games and find a way to turn L's into dubs. And, that's what Georgia Tech did. Duke blows out Syracuse. I think Syracuse's season might be over if Steve Angeli is not QB1. I think Ricky Collins is talented, but they just didn't have the same kind of panache that I was looking for, certainly at home.
That's we got the distinct dishonor of celebrating JP's bachelor party just a week and a half ago, and that is a Sunday level, minus the quarterback injury, obviously a big deal, hangover spot as well. I mean, they just got drubbed.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say one more thing before we scoot past Georgia Tech. The point that I've made about Haynes King being a gladiator who will just will his team to win and throw himself through a window like that kid on The Simpsons.
True.
42 passes and 21 carries for the guy. When you show up on 63 of your team's plays, I'm going to just give you your props on that one. It was good enough for 1 point of victory, but hey, we'll take close wins as much as we can in the Georgia Tech bandwagon.
Yeah.
Would you take him back at A&M?
I like my guy.
Often.
I like my guy.
Okay.
I love Haynes King. He's fantastic. It is the definitional gritty, not pretty. And look, we already need to help our quarterback get the ball out a little quicker. Haynes King is not the guy to do that with his windup that takes about 6 years.
You just gave a lot of people in the city of Atlanta Halloween ideas for Maximus Aurelius wearing a Haynes King jersey.
I'm telling you, man.
So that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Do it. And we got a decent Georgia Tech contingent. Somebody tag the podcast on it. Like, if you tag it, we will definitely. I'll frame it and put it up in the background. I'm not even joking. That's a heck of a costume idea. I love that. So, yeah, no, Haynes King is absolutely just deciding to ball out whenever he wants to. And look, it's never pretty with Georgia Tech. You're never going to get that comfortable, nice, fun blowout win against quality teams. But and sometimes not even that quality teams, right? Sometimes it's going to be just scratch it across at the very end, even against some not so good teams. But hey, if you're winning, you'll take your wins. And if he can't walk at the age of 38 because Georgia Tech needs to win 10 to go to the playoff, I think he is fully willing to make that trade.
He signs up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't know many things
60.
in this. I don't know many things in this life, but I know Georgia Tech. And that is a team that loves to play down and up to their opponent's level. It does not matter who they are playing.
Elevator.
And so that is why Brent Key is the ranked team assassin, and he is the young king of college football. But this is what you run into if you're a Georgia Tech guy, and I'm a Georgia Tech guy. So, hey, you take the win, you get the hell out of there. I've seen a lot of one-score losses in my day from various teams, including my own. Take the win.
Can I read? I want to read the rest of the schedule here. They've got Virginia Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia.
NC State lost to Virginia Tech today. So
neutral site, Georgia. Neutral site, Georgia.
It's in Atlanta, but we can't play it at home because
unfortunately, we can't send that one to Bobby Dodd because everyone hates fun.
Can't go down the street. Georgia Tech. You know that they're going to play up and down in the competition, and you know that there will not be a clean jersey in that locker room. Those are the two constants with the Ramblin' Wreck. And listen, it's fun to be on. Excited to see if they can get to the playoff. It's what we're riding for on this show. Sounds like you guys are as well. Big 12 scores very quickly here. We got BYU actually mounted a massive comeback. That game's going on right now as we're recording. It was 14-0 right out of the gate. Dion was doing a dance on the sideline, and evidently BYU scored 17 unanswered. But the finals from around the Big 12, Friday night, you had ASU knock off TCU in a trap game, a weird spot. Friday night in the desert, blackout jerseys for ASU. It was always going to be uncomfy. And TCU
that was our idiot game. Yeah, that was our "you guys are idiots" game.
Yeah, you got called idiots and stuff, and like people were really upset with your takes on certain game. This is the one we got shredded for. The amount of TCU fans that just, and we weren't even hard on them. We went 2-2 split.
No, two of us picked them.
And they got really upset that we didn't think they were winning a national title this year. And we were confused because we're like, this is a really good team. I just think Arizona State's figured something out. And then Jake said he likes Baylor's weapons a little more than TCU's. And then the comments spiraled and it went into a recruiting battle thing. I was like, that's not even what we're talking about. I know you recruit well. I'm just telling you, Michael Trigg is better than I'd take him over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on your roster.
Yeah.
But Arizona State and Sam Lovett he's a guy that's just going to get you down the field and win a football game, man. He's Haynes King with a better arm. And he wins football games. You looked at what Dillingham saw in that kicking game, and it was like, we are not kicking the football ever. There are no field goals in this. This is rugby. There's no kicking. And they went down late, and in the first half, I felt like even when they were down, they had shots to get points and didn't take it. They were just fourth down turnover, or they get legs and they miss a kick. That's one where you just have to win it, because I think TCU is pretty darn solid. Josh Hoover is really good.
Yeah.
Those are two of the better quarterbacks in the country, and they're getting a lot of money thrown. They both had money thrown at them last offseason, if we're being completely frank. But that was fun. That's a fun watch, man. I mean, Tempe to be alive is really cool. And the Big 12 to had the stage there was really cool as well.
Yeah, cleared the state. The ACC cleared the deck for him, right? And we got Houston and Oregon State in a weird game up in Corvallis. Then you got TCU and Arizona State way into the night as well. The other Big 12 headlines, you guys just kind of tell me, maybe pick one and give me a thought on it. ISU, Iowa State survives the weird game in Ames. Do we fall through the trapdoor allegations that we were lobbing their way? They blow out Arizona 39-14. Cincinnati beats Kansas 37-34. Kansas State over Central Florida, or Central as the ball coach calls them. Baylor in a weird, high-scoring, tight one that just could never pull away from Oklahoma State till late, 45-27. And Utah drubs West Virginia. It feels like Iowa State is right there with Texas Tech in my mind is one of the top two teams in the league. I think Arizona State, TCU are right there as well. But statement win, in my opinion, for Matt Campbell and the boys, hosting an undefeated Arizona team that's playing with house money.
I don't know if you guys can put up comments like on the. I don't know how this operates here, but I know Jake, our co-host, diehard Iowa State guy, hosted the Iowa State show on our side of things.
Yeah,
he already asked any thoughts on the real whiteout in God's country tonight. So this was the real whiteout. He was there. He was in attendance. That's why he's not here tonight. Yeah, I'm sure he would love what you were saying. I just think Arizona's bad. Like, I don't think they're on any level of what Iowa, like the Big 12 is going to be towards the top. And that was kind of the exposure spot for him. But Iowa State's good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love the matchup with Texas Tech, to be honest with you, like with what Texas Tech has. And I don't know if Iowa State fans would. But maybe JP has a different opinion. He takes in more Iowa level content week long.
It's a good football team, and they're pretty solid along both lines of scrimmage. Rocco Beck is a foxhole guy. That's a guy who I despise Iowa State with a flaming passion. That's a guy that I have no problem with in any form. Like, he goes and wins football games. I had my headline in our doc of like gritty quarterbacks. This guy's been one since the first time he took a snap in an Iowa State uniform. That Arizona team, didn't really look like they were ready for whatever John Haycock was going to throw at him defensively. And then they, I say, kind of got in their bag and found out Sowell just needed a couple weeks to get acclimated, throw a football up to him. He'll go make some plays. They're in a good spot, and I think they should feel good about where they are. And it kind of gotten to a point where they're going to go into the meat of the Big 12 schedule and really have to grind some games out with teams that are really similar to them. Because we talked about where we gave the highlight to Baylor, we gave the TCU, Arizona State piece of everything. Arizona State is going to come up to Ames. They don't get Tech this year. I think they play TCU down in Fort Worth.
That's right.
I mean, it's a grinder of a schedule, and you kind of look at them, and maybe there's just a difference to them. Like, maybe they just have the little more. We're going to continue to win one-score games because we're out coaching you and out playing you in the small things.
Yeah, I think that is, and that's what's been the bugaboo for them in those weird games that all of a sudden they just don't show up. They get down big and they can't quite claw back. It's like it's a bunch of little things. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. But I do like the way that they're playing. Rocco Beck is one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, which is saying something because of the quality at the position, the veterans at the position. And yeah, I think Iowa State has a chance to go out any given Saturday and win that game. I mean, Parks, I agree with you. I think Tech is probably a matchup nightmare for just about everybody in the conference at this point with how physical and fast they are. But I do like Iowa State's chances to maybe at least get to Arlington, give it a shot. You never know what happens.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I would say that's fair.
Yeah, it's fair.
I mean, get back to Arlington
Cincinnati next week. We didn't get a touch on Cincinnati a ton. Brendan Sorsby
big win over Kansas.
Today was my day. today was my day to beat Kansas, and they were one of the better drives I've seen to end a game and go win something. And then Kansas just can't stop anybody. Like, they can't stop the run game. They can't stop anything through the air. And Jalen Daniels is good when he's healthy, but that guy just consistently takes hits that are just unnecessary for a guy that's so important to an offense. So I think those teams are solid. I think Cincinnati didn't get the love it deserved after playing Nebraska really close. I think both those teams are better than perceived on a Thursday night in week 1, right?
Yes,
like
for sure.
So what comes of Cincinnati and Iowa State next week's a big deal. And I think whatever comes of Baylor after having 2 losses already really will tell a story within that conference.
I was impressed by Cincinnati, not only just beating Kansas, but driving to an event this afternoon. I had the broadcast on, and they were talking about, I think it was the Kansas broadcast. So multiple times during my drive, Cincinnati scored, had a touchdown taken off the board due to a holding call. I believe by the time I got out of the truck, guys, it was up to 5 scoring plays that had been called back, and Cincinnati had to do it all over again. To have that happen once, much less 4, 5, 6 times, and still find a way to get those points on the board, not just field goals, not settle for field goals, but then get back into the end zone, I think says a lot about Cincinnati's offense. And that was what held them back in the second half last year, right? Was it looked like, oh, hey, this Bearcats team, they might be for real. Maybe there's a chance that this team has a chance to do some noise. And then they forgot how to play offensive football down the second half of the year. If they can be a complete team, they've got the guys on defense to make a run at 8, maybe 9 wins this season and be one of those teams that's plucky come November.
Yeah,
there's a lot of hidden talent on that Cincinnati team.
Yeah,
they do need
sure.
Corleone. I don't even know. Did we ever figure out what he's out with? Is it back with blood clots? Is it a lower body injury?
It's lower leg. He warmed up today, and then it was a late decision not to play him, from what it sounds like. And it's a probable situation next week with Iowa State for him. He wrecks games in the middle of he's so good at defensive tackle. I can't remember what year he is, but if he's got another year, somebody's paying him $750,000 1.1 to come play defensive tackle for you.
I think this is it. I think this is his last year.
There's a lot of hidden talent on that Cincinnati offense outside of Sorsby too. Like Evan Pryor was really good for them in a backup role last year in a record-setting season. I mean, they have one of the best tight ends in the country, Joe Royer, Ohio State transfer. He's absolutely ripping apart. He'll be a first-round pick this year. And on the outside, they've got a couple. They're young, but they're good. And they get the ball to them often. It's not a bad football team, gentlemen.
They've got some sneaky possession guys. Like we had Cyrus Allen down here in College Station last year, flashed a little bit at times, but just wasn't used the right way. I've enjoyed
hell of a lot today.
Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing him go up to Cincinnati and get his. He's a good little ball player for sure. Former Louisiana Tech transfer, who I'll shout out the Bulldogs. I gave them out on our preview show. They had a 20-point fourth quarter to just blow past UTEP. 4-1 for Sonny Cumbie and the boys.
Yeah, keeping his job.
That's right.
Yep, he's fighting for it. We also have to give quick flowers. You mentioned it. They snuck by a bad Oregon State team, but Houston, guys, we're talking a combined 9-0 from former A&M quarterbacks. Are we feeling bad or not so bad about that down there?
QBU, baby. QBU. No,
that's North Texas.
We're so excited for Wegman to go and succeed. I think it was all mental for him. Quite honestly, he literally got the yips last year, and it was so frustrating to watch that happen. Between him and Klubnik out of Clemson, the two prized possessions out of that quarterback class in the Lone Star State, and neither of them have really done what we were promised. Has been frustrating, but I'm excited for him. I'm excited for that matchup next week against Texas Tech. I did call that out. There was 12.5 points, guys, that they were laying up in Corvallis. That was a weird spot. Friday night, major really look ahead situation. The entire fan base had moved on to their Twitter war against Texas Tech. So that one was always going to be close, but glad to see that they get out of that one with a win. Willie Fritz, I think, is going to build something special at Houston. Absolutely. And to have that game now in the Big 12 with real stakes on the line, sign me up. That's going to be a blast.
What's that line going to be? Tech Houston.
Where's it at?
20?
I wouldn't
in Houston.
I wouldn't go as high as 20. I'd say.
Can I interest you 12.5?
Okay, well, that's a little
Yeah,
lower.
you get
I was going to
interested at
say
20 and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say like, I don't know, 13 and a half would be kind of my floor. So a little lower than that.
Wait, do you see it?
I'll take it.
Oh,
No. I don't see it. I'll just take it.
I was
No
going to say
number that's
15
been
and a
said.
half.
I'm
I think
taking
that's
that.
a good number.
15 and a half. Yeah. We're all thinking teens, mid-teens, outside Parks, which
Couple
is
touchdowns,
20.
yeah.
It's not high enough.
So Parks, you're
not.
just saying this is a back to the wood chip situation. This is a boat racing.
Yeah, no, Texas Tech will take care of business in that scenario. If it's anything less than 21, you got to feel a little greasy about something late.
Yeah.
But 20 and a half, I'll take it.
Okay, so
Feel
well, there
great
you
about
go. There you go. Tune into the Play the Fight Song pod to see Parks put the mortgage on the line in Tech Houston. Speaking of, gentlemen, it's been a blast to have you guys on. Let us know, let our listeners know where they can find you guys on social and YouTube and whatnot.
Yeah, at
ahead.
Play the Fight Pod on all platforms, active on all, not much Facebook, but weekly live shows on YouTube, previews, recaps. We leave those to the 3 Tech boys.
That's right. We're burning the midnight oil, but we're glad to have had you guys on the show with us here tonight. For those of you that are on the live show with us or listening to the podcast Sunday morning, Monday morning, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We love getting to talk ball. Week 5, it was legendary. We cannot wait for the rest of this season. Go follow JP and Parks and the boys over at Play the Fight Song. You can follow us at 3 Tech Pod if you found us for the first time as well. And until next time, so long, everybody.